Tucker Carlson had his home vandalized. Protesters, I don't even know what you'd call them, a violent mob, tried breaking the door down. They made threats against him and his family, and one person actually made reference to some kind of explosive device, whatever that was intending to be. In Washington, D.C., political beliefs are a protected class, so the police are actually investigating this as a potential hate crime. When I saw this, it said to me that, look, all of the news that has happened in the past week shows that the divide in this country probably cannot be mended. And that's my opinion. I mean, I've been wrong about things in the past for sure. But look at what happened with Jim Acosta. For those that aren't familiar, there was this huge incident where people were claiming he chopped this woman's arm, he pushed her. Sarah Sanders said he put his hands on her. The left and the right can't even agree. In fact, some people on the right don't even agree he did anything wrong. Some people on the left think he shouldn't be grandstanding. Journalists have called him out in the past. But the issue is, Sarah Sanders posted this video of the incident, and immediately the argument just went insane. First, they claimed he never touched her. Jim Acosta never touched this woman. Then they claimed, oh, but he didn't actually do anything. It was her arm that touched him. Then they claimed the video. Oh, no, but the video was doctored. It was sped up to make it look like Jim Acosta did something worse than he really did. Then some experts got into it and said, oh, actually, there's extra frames. He paused it. Every step of the way, there's an argument as to what actually is going on, because no one actually cares if Jim Acosta did anything wrong. They care about winning the political battle, the culture war. And when you look at what happened with Tucker Carlson's home, this says to me that whatever is happening, it's not going to stop. We have passed the event horizon. I've talked about this before, that whatever that turning point was, where we could have turned things around and fixed things, it's gone. We're long since past this. Another example is one of the Vox higher-ups, Matthew Iglesias, tweeting that he couldn't empathize with Tucker Carlson's wife. When this violent mob of people were banging on the door and actually broke the door, nearly breaking the door in, and graffitied up his driveway, chanting, "You are not safe," publishing their private details. She was hiding in the pantry. They are targeting Tucker Carlson, Hannity, and culture other people for their political beliefs and opinions. They were using violence and intimidation, threatening their safety, publishing their private details. The DC police are saying this may be a hate crime. That's literally terrorism. Look, when people talk about terrorism, they usually refer to the most egregious offense, but this is just really low-scale terrorism, in my opinion. I mean, the definition supports this. So today, let's take a look at these various news stories, and I want to break down how we're seeing this escalation, but also how the Acosta situation in this video shows that our perceptions have fractured so far away from each other, we will never bring them back in, because listen, even Vice published 2 opposing articles saying the opposite things. But before we get started, please head over to patreon.com/Timcast. If you want to support my work, patrons are the backbone of the content I create. So if you like these videos and you want to see more, then go to patreon.com/Timcast and become a patron today. So just a quick recap from CBS News. Tucker Carlson protest at Fox News host's DC home leads to criminal investigation. Now, they call this a protest. They say a protest outside the Washington, D.C. home of Fox News host Tucker Carlson has led to a criminal investigation from police. Twitter has suspended the anti-fascist group that promoted the protest and tweeted Carlson's address. They're calling it a protest, but let's consider, they were banging and pounding on her front door. They actually broke the door and vandalized the property. That's not a protest. Carlson said in an interview with the Washington Post, the incident wasn't a protest, it was a threat. He said someone started throwing himself against the front door and actually cracked the front door. He said his wife, thinking it was a home invasion, locked herself in a pantry and called 911. They weren't protesting anything specific that I had said. They weren't asking me to change anything, Carlson told the Post. They were threatening me and my family and telling me to leave my own neighborhood in the city that I grew up in. Stephen Colbert, Alyssa Milano, many people on the left called this out, saying it is not okay. But here's the thing. Those are the mainstream personalities. They thrive for some kind of balance. Are they biased? Yeah, for sure. But I think it's great to see Stephen Colbert and Alyssa Milano calling this out and saying not okay. Here's the problem. Vox.com took in a huge investment from NBC, and one of their higher-ups actually tweeted in kind of defense of what Antifa did. From Heavy, Matty Iglesias has deleted his entire Twitter feed. Matthew Iglesias is a high-up at Vox, and he tweeted, "I honestly cannot empathize with Tucker Carlson's wife at all. I agree that protesting at her house was tactically unwise and shouldn't be done, but I am utterly unable to identify with her plight on any level." He went on to delete his entire Twitter feed on a day when conservatives sharply criticized his remarks about Tucker Carlson's wife. Matthew Iglesias said something to the effect of Tucker Carlson's victims, that these protesters wanted Tucker Carlson's family to feel the same fear that his victims feel. He really said something like that. Tucker Carlson doesn't have victims. He's just a guy with an opinion, and he's not even the worst guy with an opinion. He's kind of just center-right-ish. There are way more people online who have far more conservative and far-right opinions than Tucker Carlson. But Matthew Iglesias was downplaying this. He said, sure, it's tactically unwise. But he said he's not going to empathize with them. Vox is a huge media outlet, and there are people who follow this, and this is the normalization of it wasn't a protest. It was a violent mob threatening Tucker Carlson's family, banging on the door, breaking the door. And this, in my opinion, is only going to escalate, especially when you see the responses to some mainstream personalities. Stephen Colbert tweeted, "Fighting Tucker Carlson's ideas is an American right. Targeting his home and terrorizing his family is an act of monstrous cowardice. Obviously, don't do this, but also take no pleasure in it happening. Feeding monsters just makes more monsters." Although many of the responses are agreeing with Stephen Colbert for sure, there are people who don't. Someone said, "There was a time pre-2016 when I'd agree. But frankly, we're under attack, and the threat is far worse than most people realize. We won't defeat the terrorist right with political action while they're weaponizing everything within reach." Someone made a facetious response, alleging that Tucker Carlson is somehow the Nazi party, but we can't do anything to stop them. Another response, "You're wrong. Now is the time to fight back. It has been too long the powerful elite have controlled our country. Now it is the time to take the power back. As Public Enemy once said, he deserved what happened to him." The violence is being normalized. Sure, high-profile celebrities are saying, whoa, everybody walk things back. But when you have Vox saying, I'm not going to empathize with this, when you have people defending this action, you can see the escalation is coming. Because for the longest time when Antifa was engaging in political violence, nobody called them out. They didn't. And now they're starting to, as it's getting just too extreme. But in my opinion, what's going to happen is that these activists, they're emboldened by the press. They succeeded in terrorizing Tucker Carlson. He didn't appear on the air the next day. To them, that's a victory. But I don't want to stay on this topic of Tucker Carlson because I do want to talk about something else. When you look at what happened with Jim Acosta, right? We can talk about the violence, but let's talk about perception and the shattering of the tribal mind. I see something. Is it assault? No, of course not. I never said it was, but that's what people are claiming. But the argument isn't even about whether or not Jim Acosta was right to do what he did. The argument is strictly tribal. And this is evidenced by the inability of people to actually form a cogent argument about what is actually going on. What do people say? The video was sped up. Well, when it's proven that it wasn't intentionally sped up, there may be compression and frame rate issues, then people say, oh, well, he inserted frames to slow it down. And still, many experts believe, no, that's probably still just some kind of interpolation issue or compression issue. Probably wasn't intentional. Very few people actually tried to fact check this. In fact, even CBS News ran a story saying this video was doctored. But I think the most extreme example of how we are facing some kind of extreme fracture is how Vice News and Motherboard, two Vice verticals that exist on Vice.com, wrote opposing articles on the same issue. From November 8th, Vice News, the White House is circulating a doctored InfoWars video. From November 8th, Kaylee Rogers, no evidence the White House video of Jim Acosta was doctored, forensic expert says. Some outlets are saying it was doctored, some are saying it wasn't, and I don't even care about that debate, right? In my opinion, it's just compression issues. Most people have come to that conclusion, and I really doubt Paul Joseph Watson, the person who made the video where he zoomed in, I don't think he was inserting frames to do anything crazy. That's a crazy conspiracy theory to imply. And Sarah Sanders probably didn't get it from Paul Joseph Watson. It was being shared by like hundreds of thousands of people, okay? I even tweeted a reference to it saying, here's what I think happened. Maybe she got it from me, I don't know. The point is, videos go viral, and she used a compressed version. But when you see that the Associated Press actually said their expert is claiming it was doctored, Motherboard is saying their expert is claiming it wasn't doctored. I believe even Fast Company, a magazine, ran a story saying it wasn't doctored as well. Media is divided as to what actually happened, and it feels like it's predominantly people who like Trump saying it wasn't doctored, and it's predominantly people who don't like Trump saying it was doctored. I think none of that matters, right? I don't think the video was doctored, but we're arguing semantics. The issue is that both sides refuse to agree on what's going on. They can't see what's happening. Even when they look at the same video, no one can agree on what is going on. And this is just another thing that makes me feel like When people are getting violent with Tucker Carlson, and many people defend and promote the actions of those who were trying to break his door down and who were committing an act of political violence and intimidation against his family, when people defend that, I feel like we are seeing more escalation. Antifa would show up to rallies in the past, and they'd hit people with bike locks and fights would break out. Now they're doxing high-profile personalities who happen to be Republican or conservative and showing up to their houses. And what happens? Some other high-profile personalities actually tacitly defend this. Look, again, we do see like Stephen Colbert and Alyssa Milano saying, no way, not okay, for sure. But it's probably because they're high profile as well and they understand what it's like when someone comes to your home and does this. But the lower level personalities, people of great influence on the internet, are saying, yeah, so what? I'm not going to empathize with Tucker Carlson. Actually had to delete his entire account. The definition of terrorism is the unlawful use of violence and intimidation, especially against civilians, in the pursuit of political aims. Use of violence and intimidation. Violence is defined as damage to something or someone. When they damaged his door and vandalized his property, showed up to Tucker Carlson's house, making threats against him, saying, you are not safe, we know where you sleep, these are civilians, and it was in the pursuit of political aims. A lot of people think terrorism has to be the most extreme and egregious event, but no, it doesn't. Terrorism is a simple definition, and when you show up to someone's house that you disagree with politically, and you say you're not safe, we know where you sleep, and you try breaking the door in, yeah, that's terrorism. And do you think it's going to stop there? I honestly do not. I really do not. Does this mean in the next year or two there's going to be people in the streets with guns? No, of course not. But I think we're headed towards a place where when we can't agree on our elections, when we can't agree on what we can see in a video, when people are willing to just keep arguing for the sake of trying to win. First the video was, Acosta didn't touch him, then the video was sped up, then they said it was slowed down, then they said it was doctored, some said it wasn't doctored. We have no idea what's going on. No one can agree. Vice can't even agree with itself. What does that mean? It means that people can't see the same thing anymore. And that means you've got people who are going to say, look, no matter what happens, I know the Republicans are wrong. People on the right are going to say, no matter what happens, I know the left is wrong. And no one's going to back down. This can only go in one direction. And I've been saying there's going to be an escalation for a long time, and we keep seeing it. So I hope I'm wrong. I really do. But to me, with what happened with Tucker Carlson, with people's inability to see a video, I can't imagine we're going to rectify this problem. I can't. But let me know what you think in the comments below. We'll keep the conversation going. You can follow me on Twitter at Timcast. Stay tuned to new videos every day at 4 p.m. And I've got more videos coming up on my second channel, youtube.com/TimcastNews at 6 p.m. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all next time.